Where in the country is my dad? Hi, I'm Max and Love.
I'm Leona. Today's day.
It's not a day, Mary. It's the finale.
Oh yeah.
And we're back at our house, and we have our dad with us again.
Glad to be back as a part of the program. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so where did you drop into, and where did you end up?
So when you guys left, I was coming out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, right here. And I had just done 208 miles down to Baton Rouge. And then the next day, I went down through New Orleans and over to Biloxi, Mississippi. That was a 202-mile day. And then from there, the next day was really special. Do you know why?
Because he met this dude, and he met friends with him. But then, like 20 minutes and then an hour after they met, he called Dad. How did he even call you? Did you give him your...
Yeah, so I met in New Orleans, I was riding along and I met a guy who was also an amazing rider. His name is Johnny. And we were riding along in New Orleans. We got to talking, and he's just an awesome dude. But he was a Christian guy, and we got to talk about his church and the mission trips that he's been on and the places that he's gotten to go ride. And we had a great conversation, and he helped lead me out of New Orleans and on my way toward Biloxi, Mississippi. But along the way, about an hour later, he called me to let me know that there was a problem with my route.
Tell him why. Tell him like what your expression was when he called you.
Well, I was surprised because we just met, and then he calls me and he's like, "JD, you have a bridge out on the route that you're about to go down." And he's like, if you don't figure out a way around it, then you're gonna have to go way out of your way or something like that. And so he helped talk me through the process in order to get across that bridge and get around to where I needed to go. So he helped me make it all the way to Biloxi, Mississippi.
Most people, I would think it's weird if my friend called me an hour after we just met.
But it was super cool that he did that, because if he hadn't called me, I probably would have tried to figure some way around that bridge that would have cost me a lot more miles and a lot more time. But he helped me out, and it was a huge blessing.
What did he send to help you?
He called me, and he and I walked through what we could do, and he's like, "Why don't you just go up to the bridge and just see if they've only blockaded it and you can get across, then go for it and try to get across it. But if they've torn it out, then you're going to have to figure something else out." And by sending me to the bridge and having me look at it, I was able to figure out I could still go across it. And so I didn't lose any time, and I didn't lose any miles.
Why would they destroy a bridge?
Well, they were working on it. They were getting ready to work on it, but they hadn't started yet. And so they had closed it, but I didn't have to go around it, thankfully.
Oh, I am sorry. That's embarrassing. God, is so embarrassing.
No problem. So then the next day, I left Biloxi, Mississippi, and started my way through Alabama and dropped down to a little island off the coast called Dauphin Island.
That's where we got to,
And then I jumped on a ferry, and what was on the other side of that ferry? Come on. Maybe more appropriately, who was on the other side of that ferry?
Us.
That's right. You guys flew down to Pensacola, Florida, and met me.
I fell down a couple times.
On Gulf Shores over in Alabama, and I got to see you guys for the first time in 2+ weeks.
Well, then, his friends kind of disagreed with his route, so tell me about that.
Well, so that friend of mine, Johnny, and his friend Perry, they continued to text me throughout the remainder of the trip. They were amazing guys. And they were constantly sending me encouragements and prayers and Bible verses and just telling me what that they were so excited about what I was doing. So the next day, after I met up with Allie and the kids, we got over to Milton, Florida that day. So on that one day right here, I was in Mississippi, I was in Alabama, and I was in part of Florida. 3 states in one day. How cool was that?
Yeah, but tell us like how you actually got to get through those 3 states because you're friends.
Well, that's actually later on. So I walked my way across these 3 states to Milton. Then we all got a
Walked?
hotel.
You walked?
Rode, you know what I mean. I went my way across those 3 states, and then went from Milton to Tallahassee. And on the last day, the plan was that I would go from Tallahassee down to Gainesville and then over to St. Augustine. But as I was that morning, my friends had texted me, Johnny and Perry, and they said, "Where are you going today? Are you going for St. Augustine?" I said, "No, I'm just going down to Gainesville, and then we'll go over to St. Augustine from there." And they're like, "That seems a little bit out of the way." And so they started sending me some route options, and they were like, they basically said, "Well, why don't you just go over to Jacksonville? If the goal is to get to the ocean, St. Augustine's kind of in a weird spot because there's no direct road to it. Why don't you just go to Jacksonville?" And when I thought about that and prayed about it, I was like, yeah, I could be finished today. So I was able to go the 180 miles over to Tallahassee, and then the next day finish at the ocean at Jacksonville.
But he was like, oh crap, Jacksonville, the Pacific Ocean is in Jacksonville. Atlantic Ocean is in Jacksonville.
That's right. And so I didn't have to wait and do another day, and I was able to finish early and just spend time with you guys, which was awesome.
We got to watch Sharknado that night. And Tornado Hunters.
We watched a few minutes of Sharknado, but we shut it off.
Yeah,
it was a little intense.
Yes.
So overall, when you look back at everything, we did 17 rides over the course of 18 days, and it was a little over 2,700 miles, and I averaged about 160 miles per day as an average ride per day.
And I did something pretty crazy that night.
What's that?
Oh, sorry. That's embarrassing too.
Tell us
right.
what I did before we watched Sharknado that night.
Oh, so afterwards, after we finished up, we drove down to my uncle's house, which is in Ormond Beach. And we got to spend a couple days with them, and then we got to spend a couple days at some of the parks in Orlando as a little family time after this big trip. And but while we were hanging out with my uncle, Maxon and Aunt, my little buddy Maxon decided to go swimming in the ocean on a 60-degree day. It was freezing cold outside.
No, it wasn't. It was not.
Well, you didn't think it was, but everybody else, all my Floridian family was all bundled up, and they were like, "What is he doing?" But Maxon just played in the water.
They were like that?
Yeah, they were like, "There's no way we'd get in that water."
I know, I'm weird. I should have known all of this, but I was in the ocean getting splashed by the waves.
And you were having a great time.
Wasn't it funny the first time when the wave just came up and knocked me?
Oh, they knocked you down. That was funny.
No, but the only thing I had in the water that was wet was my feet, and that's the only thing I planned on getting wet. Well, I planned on getting some other things wet, but the only thing right now that I had planned for getting wet was my feet.
Right.
But I was gonna get wet.
But then you
like
got knocked by the wave.
Yeah, then the wave came. Meanie came and okay, here I'll show you. Here, my hand is the wave. I was like, yeah, splish splash.
And in the water you went, and you stayed in it for another 10 or 15 minutes.
Yep.
So he was a tough guy.
But then afterwards, you built me a dirt bike track, and I could barely hold on to the motorcycle.
Yeah, so he was pretty frigid after he got in the water and got out. So we had to get back, and thankfully Aunt Jo ran you a nice hot bath, and you got to warm back up.
Jacuzzi.
In the jacuzzi bath, yep, that's right, in their condo. So we had a great time. It was awesome. The trip was amazing. And just on a personal note, I want to say thank you to all of you guys because not only did you encourage and support Maxon and Marin on Where in the Country is My Dad, but for all your prayers and support and encouragement, I just want to say thank you. It totally got me across the country, and God used this trip in 100 ways that I can't even describe right now, but it was an amazing trip, and I thank you all for being a part of it.
Isn't your next crazy thing about doing is running across from Texas to.
I'm definitely not running across. I have already started thinking about the next crazy bike adventure though, because this
But
was
I've
so
been telling
awesome. I'm
everybody
definitely
your
already
next-
thinking about it.
I've been telling everybody your next thing doing is running across the country.
No, definitely not running across the country, but I may bike in some way across the country again because that was so much fun.
I might bike with you next time.
That would be awesome.
But next time,
Marin,
can
are
we
you gonna
not
bike
go
with me
as
next
far?
time?
Can we not bike as far just from Texas to,
Minnesota?
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Texas to Minnesota.
We'll see. We'll look at some
Actually,
possible routes.
how about we start at
Arkansas?
Arkansas and bike our way to Ohio back to our house?
That would be interesting. Maybe. We'll see. So, thank you guys so much for being a part of this whole thing.
Don't bump your melon or helmet. Well, we're actually going to do another video. Actually, we might squeeze this in really quick. Okay, actually, no, we don't have time. Our video guy just told us not to, which is our mom. And don't bump your melon or helmet. Bye.